Gosh, that's alarmingly hot. Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited that October is finally here. Autumn really is my favourite time of the year. It's the pumpkin spice, it's the cozy trips to the pumpkin patch, it's just feeling like we can really slow down and hunker into this season. I am so here for it. I'm pretty sure that the rest of the year is just gonna look like me curled up under a blanket with my cat reading a book, and I'm really good with that. All of that being said, I am someone who struggles with seasonal depression, and it's taken me a really long time to realise that. I tend not to notice the lack of daylight hours and the way it's making me feel until we start to get the daylight back in the spring, and all of a sudden I feel like a brand new person. And so this year I'm trying to preempt these like winter blues by having a really good routine in place and looking after my mental health as much as I can so that we can actually enjoy autumn rather than just feeling sad. Starting off with what might be the worst possible news, exercise really does help your mental health. I know, I'm annoyed too. I was hoping that the best thing for my mental health would be like staying in bed all day with a pile of snacks, but alas, I have been using exercise a little bit more as a coping mechanism for my anxiety this year, and I have noticed such a difference. I'm not sure if a switch flipped when I turned 30, but I really have felt a difference this year, like I actually enjoy exercise. And that's not something I ever thought I'd say. Anyway, I'm a big believer that you have to make going in the gym or exercise in whatever form that looks like for you really work for you. And for me, something I know is that if I don't go in the gym first thing in the morning, I'm not gonna go. I actually think I might be the world's best procrastinator, but if I don't go in as soon as I wake up, I will find every excuse under the sun not to go in. There's also really something about going into the gym first thing in the morning that sets you up so well for the rest of the day. It's like no matter what else happens in your day, no matter what goes wrong, if you've been in the gym first thing, then you've achieved something. And I actually find that really helpful. Now, I'm no gym expert, but what I am trying to do is just have some kind of gentle, conscious movement every morning in my routine. At the moment, that's looking like 1 spin class or bike ride, 2 weightlifting sessions, 1 yoga class, and then the other mornings I'm trying to go for a walk. And like, I have to stress, this is so gentle. Like this morning, I didn't feel like going in the gym and it was actually dry. So we decided to go for a walk and we ended up at a bakery. And you know what? That's okay because that's cozy too. And I do think that pastries are also very good for your mental health. As the weather gets worse, I'm sure I'll be swapping some of these like outdoor walks for walks on the treadmill or maybe even just gentle stretching sessions. But my goal is to have some kind of movement, no matter how big or small, every morning. It just starts the day off on the right tone. I also find that I don't seem to mind the dark mornings as much when I'm in the gym. I'm actually really enjoying going on the treadmill in the morning for a little walk, and instead of like putting music on or following a class, I've just been putting Netflix on, and I've been putting like cozy low-level lighting on and just having a little stroll on the treadmill whilst watching TV. And it's a really gentle, cozy way to start the morning whilst feeling like you're just getting a little bit of movement in to start your day. I've also been using the early starts as an excuse to nap in the afternoon, and I love a nap. Something else that probably seems super obvious is keeping your water intake up at this time of year. I'm someone who is very up and down with water intake, but I notice such a big difference when I'm really good at making sure I'm drinking water. The best advice I can give you for this is just have a water bottle you really like and to track your drinking. I'm not a Stanley girl, which I know is sacrilege to say online. I just think they're too big, clunky, and kind of ugly. I tend to cycle through. I've got some tumblers with straws that I use when I'm at home, and then I've got a Lululemon water bottle that I use in the gym or if I'm going out. Making sure I'm carrying those around with me in the day just makes sure like I have no excuse, I have the water on hand. I would also recommend investing in a bottle bag if you're someone who goes on a lot of like longer walks or hikes. I used to be really bad at when we go for a forest walk, I wouldn't take a water bottle because I didn't want to carry it, I didn't want to carry a bag. But ever since I bought a bottle bag, I kind of have no excuse because the bag is the perfect size to fit my bottle in. It fits my keys, my phone, any like additional accessories, but it's not giving me any additional weight. And if anything, I find it makes me more inclined to drink water on my walks because I want the weight of the bag to go down. And as far as tracking your water intake goes, I'm someone who responds really well to gamifying any aspect of my life. And so the most useful thing I've found is to add like a water tracker in and to make it a bit of a challenge to complete during the day. If you have an iPhone, you have the new iOS 18, you can now add a widget to your control center that allows you to track your water. I used an app called iScreen to make mine, and it's genuinely changed how much water I drink in the day, and I feel so much better for it. I genuinely do find I'm so much more awake, alert, and just generally happier, less anxious when I am hydrated. I also started taking vitamin D tablets a little bit earlier than usual this year. It's like the ultimate preemptive for the British weather. I feel like it is really common knowledge if you live in the UK that we should all be taking a vitamin D tablet, and despite the fact that we all know that, we all put off taking them, or we don't take them for whatever reason. I'm very flighty when it comes to taking supplements regularly and consistently. So something that I found really helps is ordering my vitamin D tablets on a subscription basis. So every 30 days I get a fresh refill delivered to my door, and the fact that I know it's coming and that I know I've paid for it means that I'm so much better about taking the tablets I already have. This year I did a bunch of research, and this is not a recommendation, it's more me just sharing what I'm using, but I've been using the vitamin D tablets from Wild Nutrition. Again, like, supplements are very specific to different people, so please do your research. What works for me might not work for you. What I liked about these is that the subscription service keeps me accountable, and the vitamin D tablets are food derived, which I'm someone who really struggles with the absorption of nutrients, and like just generally, like, I've had bowel issues and it's made me struggle to absorb any supplements in the past. I do so much better with food grade supplements, so I will leave the link below, but that is just what I'm using. Do your research, find something that works for you. My immune system really needs all the help it can get, so this time of year, vitamin D tablets, it really does make a big difference. We do not get enough sunlight in this country. Something new to my daily routine this season that I did not expect to ever be on board with is an acupressure mat. Now, as an incredibly anxious person, something I really struggle with is staying grounded, and this for me has just been such a game changer. Don't get me wrong, the first time you use it, now, don't get me wrong, the first time I used it, I was like, what the hell have I done? And full disclosure, I bought like a very cheap but well-reviewed one on Amazon because I just wasn't sure it was going to be worth the investment. However, I know I'm going to continue to use this. I know I'm going to end up upgrading to a slightly nicer one. I have enjoyed the acupressure mat so much. I've enjoyed the acupressure mat so much. Now, the main way I use this is for about 20 minutes before bed, and I find that it just helps me sleep so soundly. I'm doing about 20 minutes on the mat once I'm completely ready for bed, because by the end of that 20 minutes I am practically asleep on the spine. It's also a really good time to do like a guided meditation if that's something you're into. Sometimes I just sit there with my book, sometimes the TV's on in the background. That 20 minutes though, and really just sinking into the mat, it just does something to my brain. Pressure mats have been touted as being good for circulation, blood pressure, digestion, nausea, all sorts of different things. I know some people find it really works for those things. For me, the main thing has been really grounding me into the moment. As someone whose anxiety tends to manifest as an inability to stay grounded, it's just been fantastic. And I've been slowly working in like some 10-minute morning sessions too, on days where I just feel like I need a little bit of extra help grounding myself in the moment in the morning. Aside from the physical grounding, I genuinely am sleeping so much better since I've been using it, and that extra good quality sleep is really helping me feel like the days are a lot more manageable. Another thing that's really important when it comes to protecting your mental health this season is keeping an eye on the weather. And I know it's so easy to get sucked into opening the weather app and feeling really disappointed in the amount of rain forecast, or the way that the sunrise is getting later and the sunset is getting earlier. But I really think that you can use the weather app to your advantage. I really want to encourage you to use the weather app to plan accordingly. So we all know that we are struggling to get that outdoor time at this time of year, so keep an eye on what the weather is doing. And for me personally, like, I've set a goal that anytime we have a dry morning before I start work, I want to be outside and I want to go for a walk, even if it's cold and I have to wrap up in loads of layers. If it is dry, I want to be outside. Same for like that downtime. If I want to sit and read a book and it's dry outside, I'm gonna go outside. I've got a waterproof sleeping blanket thing that I can snuggle up under, and I just want to make the most of being outside. I generally find that when I start to go crazy in the winter, it's because I haven't had enough time outside in nature. And again, for those indoor cozy activities that you don't need the weather to be on board, try and schedule those in for when the weather's bad, because then it gives you something to look forward to. I personally think that a movie night or an evening spent reading on the sofa is so much better, so much more atmospheric when the rain is pouring outside. There's nothing more disappointing than wasting the only dry day of the week inside doing chores. So just try and keep an eye on the weather and plan your week around it. Which really leads me into my next point about romanticizing your days, because just because the weather's bad doesn't mean you have to be miserable. We are romanticizing romanticizing our lives this season, okay? And if that means that you are turning on some lamps in the day, maybe hanging up some fairy lights from Christmas a little bit early to give you that cozy mood, lighting little candles at your desk, whatever it is, just because it's dark and gloomy doesn't mean you have to be sad. Let's try and add a little bit of magic into these moments where otherwise we'd maybe feel a little bit low. Something I really want to do this year is try some of the recipes that I've had saved on Pinterest for years. I'm talking like autumnal soups, pies, maybe a few like spiced bakes. And again, like when the weather is terrible, this is the perfect time to be in the kitchen being cozy. I've added a little blanket to my desk chair so that when the weather's bad and I'm getting chilly, I can just snuggle up under that while I'm working. And I just know I enjoy the seasons so much more when I romanticize them. I also highly recommend getting a cat as being good for your mental health. This one's faulty because she doesn't actually love me. She only loves my husband, which I think is really rude. And finally, I really think there's something to be said for embracing hobbies that make you want to be at home being cozy. Whether that's creating an autumn TBR pile that you are so excited to work through, restarting your Animal Crossing island, taking up different crafts. Like honestly, I'm so excited for this season to just be cozy at home, taking part in all these hobbies. I feel like I'm in my hobby girl era. I've got some embroidery projects I want to get done. I'm still so into my junk journal. I've been enjoying playing with watercolors in my sketchbook so much this year. My friend Nikki and I actually have an entire Instagram thread where we just share back and forth different craft projects we want to do. And if you're someone who goes stir crazy in the house too long, there's still so much to do outside of the house at this time of year. I recently went bowling for the first time in like 10 years. My friend and I went bowling and we had the best time. We went to see the new Beetlejuice movie and I am telling everyone that they need to go see that this month. Like it's the pinnacle of cozy autumn vibes. I also tried line dancing with a friend, which was so much more fun than I thought it was going to be. We genuinely had the best time and it was such a nice way to spend like an otherwise very gloomy, grey, wet Friday night. Like I didn't really notice the weather at all because we were inside having such a good time. And I've got a pottery painting date in the books with one of my friends. And there's also a lot going on locally. Our local florists are hosting wreath making workshops in the build up to Christmas and they always sell out really fast. We've got a local bar that does sip and paint evenings, which I would love to do one of those. I just think that sounds really fun. And I've even signed up for an event that's held at our local Waterstones. It's like a in conversation with authors. So make sure you're keeping an eye out for these kind of things because just because the weather's miserable and we don't want to be outside doesn't mean that you can't go out. I really do think as well, like staying scheduled and having these things in your diary really helps with the seasonal depression. Like you can't be sad if you're busy. Or maybe you can, but it's harder. Hopefully you found something in this helpful. I'd love to hear in the comments if you have any other tips for minimizing the effects of seasonal depression this time of year, because I know it's something that we all struggle with on different levels. Make sure if you're not already, you're following me on Instagram and TikTok. I'm going to be sharing so many different ways to romanticize your life this autumn. I'm going to be sharing all my favorite tips for staying busy, positive, and just having a really good autumn winter. As always, thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Cheers.